Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be making seitan roast with chestnut and apple stuffing. When I started cooking vegan stuff at home, I was incredibly intimidated by the idea of making my own seitan at home. I thought it was this crazy complicated recipe that would involve all of these different moving parts, and I just thought it was too difficult for me to make at home. Turns out I was completely wrong. It is super easy to make at home, and I'm going to show you guys today how easy it is, how delicious it is, and how tasty it is. This recipe we're going to be making today is kind of a one-size-fits-all roast recipe, but you know, now we're in the festive kind of period. It's really great for Christmas roast, and the chestnuts and apple stuffing is to die for. I've got a lot of compliments from non-vegans who are saying like, this is amazing, I love this stuffing. So really you guys are really going to enjoy this recipe, and yeah, it's super easy to make at home and you're going to love it. First thing we're going to do for the recipe is we're going to first blend this kind of chickpea paste that's going to go into the vital wheat gluten for the seitan, and this is going to give us this lovely kind of salty deep flavor for the roast, and we're going to use the wonderful amazing food processor for that. All of these recipes we're going to be doing today involve pretty much no prep other than just blitzing in the food processor, so get one if you don't have one already. I just don't have a blade for this though. Where the hell is that? Okay, food processor blade in. So to make the paste that's going to go in the seitan roast, we're going to take 125 grams of cooked chickpeas. It can be just cooked at home or canned. 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Then we're going to whack in 1 onion and 4 cloves. Just chop the onion in half and peel it, and then just whack the halves in the blender. They'll get blitzed up anyway, so don't worry too much. And same thing with the garlic cloves. Just crush them. Oh, lost one already. And then just put the whole cloves into the blender. And then I'm going to put in a teaspoon of liquid smoke. If you don't have liquid smoke, don't worry, just put in a teaspoon of Marmite. It acts the same way, gives that nice, rich, kind of smoky flavor. But don't worry, you don't have to put either of those things in if you don't want to. Then I've got some fresh sage and fresh thyme. I'm just going to chop these up, destem them, and then put them into the blender. And then we're just going to blitz this up now. And if you don't have fresh sage or fresh thyme, just use the same amount of quantities dried. It's just to give a little bit more extra depth of flavor, so don't worry if you don't have fresh stuff lying around. So we just blitz that into a nice paste. It's a relatively chunky looking paste, but we want it pretty smooth, so kind of like a hummus texture. That's good to go. So let's just put this on the side, and then we're going to take a large mixing bowl here, and I'm going to put in all of my dry ingredients into this mixing bowl. So first of all, I have 260 grams of vital wheat gluten, and this is the key ingredient for the seitan. Vital wheat gluten is just as it sounds, it's wheat gluten, so it's just made by washing normal plain flour of all of the excess like starch, so you're just left with this really proteinous gluten, and that's what's going to make the seitan and just give it this really kind of meaty texture. So we've got 260 grams of wheat flour there. We've got 45 grams of nutritional yeast. And then I've got a teaspoon of cumin, a teaspoon of smoked paprika. And I'm just going to mix this up so that we evenly distribute these spices and stuff. And then what we want to do is mix in our paste into the dry ingredients. And once this paste starts to clump up with the flour, that's when we want to start adding in our vegetable stock. So I have 340 ml of plain vegetable stock here, which I'm just going to mix in. And so now we have this almost kind of bready-like mixture here, which we're going to now knead for 10 minutes. And this just stops your seitan from being a bit bouncy when you're eating it. You just give it a little bit of knead now. It's going to stay together a bit nicer once it's cooked and just have a better texture. Okay, so I've been kneading this for about 8 to 10 minutes now, and it's looking pretty good. It's much more solid and together, and it's quite elastic. And this is what you want. You want a kind of a large gloopy chunk that gives you some resistance when you're kind of kneading it. So you'll be able to feel the kind of dough change halfway through kneading, and if you don't have to go the whole 10 minutes, it might take 5 minutes to get there, it might take more time. It's really just up to your intuition. So now that that's kneaded and ready, we're going to roll this up in baking parchment first, and then second in aluminium foil. So you just want to roll it into roughly kind of a log shape, like a thick log. Like it wants to be almost like a small loaf of bread, really. So now you got the log, you just want to roll it and then just twist the ends so it's like a big sweet. So pretend it's some kind of, I don't know, eclair or whatever the sweet is. And then we're going to wrap it in tin foil. And again, just do the ends like that. And that's the shape and size we want. So then we're going to place this on a baking tray. Placed on a baking tray, and this is going to go in the oven for an hour at 180 degrees Celsius. Now that the seitan's cooking, we're going to move on to prepping the stuffing, and then we'll put it alongside the seitan in the oven to roast until it's complete. Okay, stuffing. So using our trusty food processor again, we're going to add in 150 grams of chestnut mushrooms, and we're just going to pulse this till it's shredded. It's just finely shredded. Don't want to over process it, just get to that shredded state. And that's what you're kind of looking for, is something along these lines. You don't want to go down into a paste, because otherwise your stuffing's not going to have any texture at all. And then we're going to do the same exact thing with 110 grams of roast chestnuts, whole roast chestnuts. You can get these in the supermarket in packets, or you can just roast and deshell your own at home. Relatively simple, but supermarket packet version is much quicker and much easier. Again, in the blender, and we just pulse. There you are. It's just, again, we're just getting it so we've got like these chunky pieces in there, and just add that into your bowl with the mushrooms. Okay, so the next thing is we got our whole apple for the apple and chestnut stuffing. Now this is a Granny Smith apple. It's specifically a cooking apple, which is quite widely available here in the UK. You can use any green apples you really want. I prefer Granny Smith because it's got a little bit of a nicer flavour when it's cooked. You want to peel this, and then we're going to dice these into 1 centimetre cubes. So that's all the apple chopped. So next thing we're going to put into the stuffing is some squash. I don't know what variety of squash this is I've got here, but you can just use any squash you find in the supermarket. Butternut squash works fine. And we're going to use about 150 grams worth. So you want basically the same amount of squash that you that you that you got your apple with, and replace it with the squash. I didn't make any sense there, but you get the picture. And again, we're going to dice this into exactly the same pieces that the apple we diced into, so roughly 1 centimeter diced cubes. So there we go, we've got our squash nicely diced, and our final thing is we're going to finally dice one onion. Okay, now we've got all of our stuff chopped up, we're just going to get our trusty mixing bowl again, and we're just going to combine all of the rest of the ingredients. So we have our mushroom and our chestnut mixture here, which is just going to go in. Then all of our nice chopped vegetables, 50 ml of olive oil, got a teaspoon of salt, and we have 50 grams of gram flour, chickpea flour, and finally 50 grams of white breadcrumbs. And then we're just going to stir all of that up and mix it together until it's evenly incorporated. Okay, that's looking pretty good. You can see there everything's evenly incorporated, and you'll know that you've got the right level of breadcrumbs and flour if when you take a scoop and you just want to press it together in your hand, that it kind of stays compact in like a patty. You can use plain flour instead of the chickpea flour. The same quantity is absolutely fine. The chickpea flour just gives it a little bit more body and texture. Now this is combined nicely, we're going to just place this into a baking tray. Here's our nice baking tray, and we're just going to spoon this in. And you can, to be honest, grease the tray if you want. It will help prevent the stuffing sticking to the sides, but I just can't be bothered, to be brutally honest. Okay, it's pretty much quite overflowing there. And then just give it a little pat down inside so that it's nicely compact. There we go. And then this is going to go in the oven at 200 degrees Celsius for around 40 minutes or so. Because we've got the seitan in there at the moment at 180 degrees, it's going to go in for slightly longer. Okay, so both of those are nicely in the oven now. It's going to be about 40 minutes or so before they're ready. So feel free to chill out, have a drink, have a tea, and I'll see you back here in a sec. So it's been an hour. Let's take a look at how our seitan is looking. Just gonna this looks pretty good, I do say so myself. Okay, that's looking pretty perfect, to be brutally honest. It's nicely browned on the outside, and it's got a good level of texture to it. So let's slice it and make sure that it is cooked all the way through. It's going to be a bit tricky because the camera is in this direction, but yet I am right-handed, so I'm not entirely sure how this is going to work. We'll figure it out. This is looking good, and it smells amazing. So I like to do quite chunky slices because you get a bit more texture there, but this is looking absolutely perfect as kind of what you want. And the texture inside is just a little bit moist, and the outside is just nicely crisped up. This is going to taste absolutely amazing with gravy, whatever roast you throw on it, whatever sauces you want. But my personal favorite is this works so well in sandwiches the day after. So if you're looking for that, Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner sandwich with all of the trimmings in it, this is an amazing, amazing addition to any sandwich. What I like to do is I'll slice it, I'll fry it off in a frying pan, get a little bit of crisp on there, put it in a sandwich with vegan mayonnaise, some cranberry sauce, maybe some greens in there as well, and it tastes absolutely incredible. Let's take a peek at how the stuffing has come out. So stuffing looking pretty excellent as well, to be honest. I just in the last 5 to 10 minutes, I actually brushed the top with a little bit of olive oil and salt, and you can do that as well. It gives a little bit more color to the top of the stuffing. But this looks absolutely perfect, and again, you know, on the top, on the outside, it's nicely crisped up, but in the middle, it's got that really moist, kind of bready stuffing, which is absolutely delicious. I'm gonna have a little taste of this now. So good. So seitan roast with chestnut and apple stuffing. There you go. Okay guys, I hope you've enjoyed that recipe video. As always, the full recipe for both of these recipes are in the description. They're actually two separate recipes on the site, so check both of the links out. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have any comments or questions, please leave in the comments section below and I will be sure to get back to you. In the meantime, have a happy festive season and I will see you on the flip side.